When a man like Rafael Moretti knocks on your door at 5 in the morning, it's never an accident. Men like him don't show up unannounced. They don't explain themselves. They don't beg. They send people to do that. So when Sky Arlen woke to 3 hard bangs tearing through the silence of her apartment, her body moved before her brain caught up. Her phone glowed on the nightstand. 5:03 a.m. Nothing good happens at that hour. She slipped out of bed, barefoot, heart hammering in her chest. The knocking came again, harder this time, angrier. "Who is it?" she called out, her voice shaking. Silence. Then a voice she knew, but didn't recognize. Sky. Her blood turned ice cold. She grabbed the metal flashlight from her drawer and crept toward the door. Every instinct screamed at her to stay still, to pretend she wasn't home. But that voice. She knew that voice. She pressed her eye against the peephole. And there he was. Rafael Moretti. Her boss. Her mafia boss. Standing in the hallway with bruised knuckles, a split lip, and no wedding ring. His suit jacket was gone. His white shirt had blood on the collar. His dark hair, usually perfectly combed, was a mess. He looked straight at the door like he could see her through it. "Sky," he said again, quieter this time. "I know you're there." Her hand gripped the flashlight tighter. "What do you want?" she whispered. He stepped closer to the door. "If you open this door," he said slowly, "you're choosing a new life." She didn't move. "Because my divorce wasn't a divorce." He swallowed hard. It was an execution. Sky's breath caught in her throat. "What are you talking about?" Raphael's jaw tightened. His voice dropped lower, almost too quiet to hear. "They're coming for me." A pause. "And they're coming for you." Her knees went weak. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because she thinks I care about you." Sky's hand flew to her mouth. "And she's right." The hallway went silent. All she could hear was her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. She stared at the lock. One turn. That's all it would take. One turn, and everything would change. Raphael's voice came through the door again, softer now. "Sky, please." She'd never heard him say please before. Not once in 2 years. "I wouldn't be here if there was anywhere else to go." She closed her eyes. Her hand hovered over the lock. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" "You don't," he said simply. "But you know me." And that was the problem. She did know him. Not the version everyone else saw, the cold, untouchable man who ran half the city from behind a desk. She knew the version who remembered how she took her coffee. The version who stayed late when she stayed late, even though he didn't have to. The version who once stepped between her and a drunk vendor who got too close, and didn't raise his voice, just looked at the man until he apologized. That version didn't knock on doors at 5 in the morning covered in blood unless something was very, very wrong. "Sky." His voice cracked. "If you don't open this door in the next 30 seconds, I'm gone." Her fingers touched the lock. "And if I do open it?" Silence. Then you'll never be safe again." She should have walked away. She should have called the police. She should have done anything except what she did next. But she didn't. Because deep down, in a place she didn't like to admit existed, she'd been waiting for this. Waiting for him to stop pretending. Waiting for the walls to come down. Waiting for the truth, no matter how dangerous it was. Her hand turned the lock. The door opened. And Rafael Moretti stepped inside like he'd been holding his breath for hours. He locked the door behind him without asking. Then he looked at her. Really looked at her. "Thank you," he said quietly. Sky stepped back, still gripping the flashlight. "You have 1 minute to explain." Raphael nodded. My wife filed for divorce 3 days ago. Sky already knew that. Everyone at the office knew that. So it wasn't about marriage, Raphael said. It was about control. He walked past her into the living room, scanning the windows like he expected someone to be watching. She runs everything, Sky. The business. The family. The money. I was just the face. Sky crossed her arms. Then why does she care if you're gone? Raphael turned to face her. Because I know too much. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black USB drive. And I hid the proof. Sky stared at the drive. What's on it? Everything, Raphael said. Names. Accounts. Deals. Crimes. He held it out to her. And I hid it in your apartment. The room tilted. You what? 6 months ago, he said. Behind the vent in your bedroom. Sky's hand started shaking. Why would you do that? Raphael's eyes softened. Because she would never look here. Why not? He hesitated. Then said the words that changed everything. Because she doesn't think you matter. Sky felt like she'd been slapped. But you do, Raphael added quickly. To me, you do. Before she could respond, a sound came from the hallway. Soft. Deliberate. Footsteps. Raphael's entire body went rigid. He put a finger to his lips. The footsteps stopped. Right outside her door. Then a voice. Polite. Calm. Wrong. Maintenance. We got a call about a water leak. Raphael's hand moved to his waistband. Sky saw the gun. Her heart stopped. He looked at her one last time and mouthed 2 words. Trust me. Then the door exploded inward. If someone knocked at your door like this, would you turn them away? Before that door exploded, Sky's life had been small. Deliberately small. Carefully small. She lived in a 1-bedroom apartment that cost exactly what she could afford. She kept her groceries simple. Her wardrobe plain. Her routine predictable. Wake up. Coffee. Work. Home. Sleep. Repeat. It wasn't exciting. But it was safe. And after the childhood she'd had, foster homes, broken promises, people who left, safe was all she wanted. She'd been working at Moretti Holdings for 2 years as a bookkeeper. Officially, the company dealt in logistics and real estate. Unofficially, everyone knew better. The men who visited wore expensive suits and carried themselves like violence was always an option. The shipments that came and went were never questioned. And Raphael Moretti, the man whose name was on the building, was untouchable. Cold. Calculated. Dangerous. At least, that's what everyone said. But Sky saw something else. It started small. The first time she noticed, she'd been working late. Again. The office was empty except for her and the night security guard who barely looked up from his phone. She was knee-deep in spreadsheets when the elevator dinged. Raphael stepped out. He paused when he saw her still at her desk. You're here late, he said. Sky looked up, startled. Just finishing the quarterly report. He nodded and started toward his office. Then stopped. You drink coffee? She blinked. Yeah. Why? Black. Cream. Sugar. 1 sugar, she said slowly. Why? Raphael didn't answer. He just walked into his office and closed the door. 10 minutes later, a cup of coffee appeared on her desk. Still hot. 1 sugar. No note. No explanation. Just coffee. The second time, she'd been in the lobby when a vendor started yelling. He was drunk. Angry. Too close. "You think you can just ignore my calls?" he shouted, jabbing a finger toward her face. Sky stepped back. "Sir, I don't handle vendor relations. Don't give me that corporate bullshit." Before she could respond, a hand caught the man's wrist. Raphael. He didn't yell. Didn't threaten. He just looked at the man. Really looked at him. And the man's face went pale. "Apologize," Raphael said quietly. The vendor stammered. I didn't mean." "Apologize." The man turned to Sky, hands shaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Raphael released him. "Leave." The man practically ran out the door. Raphael turned to Sky. "You okay?" She nodded, heart still pounding. "Thank you." He studied her for a moment, like he was checking to make sure she really was okay. Then he walked away. No lecture. No drama. Just protection. After that, things shifted. Not obviously. Not inappropriately. But she noticed. The way he always seemed to know when she was working late. The way he'd ask if she needed anything before he left for the night. The way he never touched her, but always positioned himself between her and any potential threat. Once, during a staff meeting, another executive made a comment about her being too soft for the job. Raphael didn't raise his voice. He just said, "She's the only one in this room who hasn't cost me money." The man never spoke to her again. Another time, she'd been struggling with a software update and muttered under her breath, "I hate technology." The next morning, there was a new laptop on her desk. Top of the line. A sticky note on the keyboard in his handwriting. "Hate this one less." She started looking forward to Monday mornings. Not because she loved the job. But because he'd always ask the same question. "How was your weekend?" And he'd actually listen. Not the polite, half-listening most bosses did. Really listen. Once, she mentioned she'd burned toast 3 times trying to make breakfast. He smiled. Actually smiled. "You're a bookkeeper, not a chef." "Apparently, I'm neither," she said. The next week, a toaster appeared in the office break room with another note. No excuses now. She told herself it didn't mean anything. He was just a good boss. A considerate boss. A boss who happened to be dangerously attractive and completely off-limits. But late at night, when she was alone in her apartment, she'd replay those small moments. The coffee. The protection. The toaster. And she'd wonder. What if? Then one day, she overheard 2 employees talking in the hallway. "Did you see the way Moretti looks at her?" "Who, Sky?" "Yeah. It's like he's careful." "That's dangerous talk." Sky's stomach twisted. She told herself they were wrong. They had to be wrong. Men like Raphael Moretti didn't fall for women like her. She was nobody. Just a bookkeeper who kept her head down and did her job. But sometimes, when he thought she wasn't looking, she'd catch him watching her. And the look in his eyes wasn't professional. It was something else. Something that made her heart race and her hands shake. Something that terrified her. Because the most dangerous thing about powerful men isn't cruelty. It's when they make you feel safe. And Raphael Moretti made her feel safer than anyone ever had. Until the night everything shattered. The night he showed up at her door. Bleeding. Desperate. Telling her things that didn't make sense. Telling her that the man who protected her for 2 years had also put her in the crosshairs. That the man who brought her coffee had hidden evidence in her apartment. That the man who defended her had made her a target. And now, as the door exploded and gunfire erupted, Sky realized the horrible truth. The safest man in her life had become the most dangerous. And she had no idea if opening that door had saved her. Or destroyed her. The man who made you feel safest can break you the fastest. Have you ever trusted someone who turned your world upside down? The gunshot never came. The door didn't explode. Sky blinked. She was still standing in her living room. Still gripping the flashlight. Still staring at Raphael. The knock at the door. The footsteps. The voice saying, "Maintenance." That hadn't happened yet. That was about to happen. Right now, in this moment, Raphael was still waiting. Waiting for her to open the door. Waiting for her to choose. Her hand turned the lock. The door opened. Raphael stepped inside and locked it behind him in one smooth motion. No hesitation. No asking permission. He moved past her into the living room, scanning every window, every shadow. "Raphael. Don't turn on any lights," he said. His voice was different now. Harder. Colder. This was the man people feared. Sky's hands trembled. "You need to tell me what's happening. Right now." Raphael stopped pacing and looked at her. Really looked at her. "My divorce wasn't a divorce," he said again. "You said that already." "Because it's important," he said. "My wife didn't leave me because she was unhappy." He laughed bitterly. "She left me because she doesn't need me anymore." Sky crossed her arms. "I don't understand." "She runs everything, Sky. The business. The family. The connections. I was just the name on the door." He ran a hand through his hair. "And now she's decided I'm a liability." "A liability?" "I know too much," Raphael said. "I've seen too much. And she can't risk me talking." Sky's throat went dry. "So what does that have to do with me?" Raphael reached into his jacket. Sky flinched. But he didn't pull out a gun. He pulled out a small black USB drive. "This," he said, holding it up, "is everything." "Everything?" "Names. Accounts. Transactions. Crimes." He paused. "Proof." Sky stared at the tiny drive. "Proof of what?" "Proof that can destroy her entire empire." He stepped closer. "And I hid it in your apartment." The room tilted. Sky grabbed the back of the couch to steady herself. "You what?" "6 months ago," Raphael said quietly. "Behind the air vent in your bedroom." Her mind raced. 6 months ago. He'd come to her apartment once to drop off paperwork she'd forgotten at the office. She'd offered him coffee. He'd stayed for 10 minutes. That was it. "You." She couldn't finish the sentence. "I'm sorry," Raphael said. "You're sorry." "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice." Sky's voice cracked. "You used me." "I protected you," Raphael said firmly. "By hiding evidence in my home. By hiding it somewhere she'd never look." Sky shook her head, tears stinging her eyes. "Why? Why me? There are 100 places you could have hidden that drive. Why my apartment?" Raphael's jaw tightened. He looked away. "Raphael," Sky pressed. "Why me?" Silence. Then, so quietly she almost didn't hear it. "Because she thinks I'm in love with you." The air left the room. Sky's knees went weak. "What?" Raphael finally met her eyes. "My wife. She thinks I have feelings for you." "That's insane." "Is it?" Sky froze. Raphael took a step closer. "She noticed things, Sky. The way I made sure you were safe. The way I'd stay late when you stayed late. The coffee. The laptop. The toaster. Sky's heart pounded. Those were just. You were just being nice. I was being careful, Raphael said. But not careful enough. He exhaled slowly. She started watching you. Having you followed. Checking your background. Sky felt sick. When? Months ago, Raphael said. And when she found nothing. No criminal record, no connections, no reason for me to care about you, she got suspicious. Why would that make her suspicious? Because men like me don't care about people for no reason. He paused. So she assumed there had to be a reason. Sky's voice came out as a whisper. And what reason did she come up with? Raphael's eyes softened. That I was in love with you. Sky took a step back. And are you? The question hung in the air like smoke. Raphael didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her. Really looked at her. And then he said the words that changed everything. Yes. Sky's breath caught. She's right, Sky. She's always been right. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You don't get to do this, she whispered. You don't get to use me, put me in danger, and then tell me you love me. I know. That's not fair. I know. I should kick you out right now. I know. So why am I not doing it? Sky's voice broke. Raphael stepped closer. Close enough that she could see the cut on his lip. The bruise on his jaw. The exhaustion in his eyes. Because you know I'm telling the truth, he said softly. And she did. God help her, she did. She'd known for months. Maybe longer. She'd just been too afraid to admit it. What happens now, she whispered. Raphael's expression darkened. Now, we survive. And if we can't? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The sound of footsteps in the hallway said everything. Slow. Deliberate. Getting closer. Raphael's hand moved to his waistband. Sky saw the gun again. Raphael. He put a finger to his lips. The footsteps stopped. Right outside her door. Then a knock. Polite. Professional. Wrong. Maintenance. We got a call about a water leak. Sky's blood turned to ice. It was 5 in the morning. There was no water leak. Raphael's eyes locked onto hers. He mouthed 2 words. Get back. Sky didn't move. The knock came again. Ma'am. We need to check your unit. Raphael pulled the gun from his waistband. Sky's heart stopped. And then she heard it. A different sound. Softer. On the other side of the door. Metal scraping metal. Someone was picking the lock. Some people carry secrets that could save them, or destroy them. Would you risk it all? The lock clicked. Raphael moved. He grabbed Sky's arm and yanked her behind the couch just as the door exploded inward. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. A man in black stepped through, gun raised. Raphael fired first. The sound was deafening in the small apartment. The man dropped. Move! Raphael shouted. Sky couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process that there was a dead man on her floor. Sky, move! Raphael grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the bedroom. Behind them, more footsteps pounded up the stairs. How many? Sky gasped. Too many. He shoved her toward the window. Fire escape. Now. Raphael. Now. She climbed through, hands shaking so hard she nearly fell. Raphael followed, pulling the window shut behind them just as the bedroom door burst open. Gunfire erupted. Bullets punched through the glass. Down! Go down! Raphael shouted, firing back through the broken window. Sky scrambled down the fire escape, metal stairs rattling under her feet. Her bare feet. She was still barefoot. Still in pajamas. Still holding the stupid flashlight. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. Raphael landed beside her at the bottom, grabbing her hand again. Run! They ran. Through the alley. Past dumpsters and chain-link fences. Sky's feet screamed in pain as she stepped on gravel and glass, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Behind them, men shouted. More gunfire. A bullet ricocheted off a metal dumpster inches from her head. Raphael pulled her left, then right, zigzagging through the maze of back alleys. There, he pointed. A black car sat idling at the end of the alley. Engine running. Lights off. Raphael shoved her toward it. Get in. Whose car? Get in. She dove into the passenger seat. Raphael slid behind the wheel and slammed the accelerator. The car lurched forward, tires screaming. Sky twisted around to look back. 3 men stood at the mouth of the alley, guns raised. One fired. The back window exploded. Get down! Raphael yelled. Sky ducked as more bullets tore through the car. Raphael yanked the wheel hard, sending them careening around a corner onto the main street. Empty. It was still dark. Still early. The city was asleep. Who were they? Sky gasped. My wife's people. How did they find us so fast? Raphael's jaw clenched. They were already watching you. Ice flooded Sky's veins. What? They've been watching you for weeks, Raphael said, eyes locked on the rearview mirror. Maybe longer. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought I could handle it. Behind them, headlights appeared. 2 cars. Fast. Hold on, Raphael said. He floored it. The car shot forward, weaving between lanes. Sky gripped the door handle, watching the speedometer climb. 60. 70. 80. Raphael. I know. 90. The cars behind them matched their speed. One pulled up alongside them. A window rolled down. Raphael, left side. Sky screamed. Raphael jerked the wheel right just as bullets ripped through the space where they'd been. The pursuing car swerved, clipped a parked vehicle, and spun out. One down. But the second car was still coming. Closer now. Why are they doing this? Sky shouted over the wind screaming through the broken windows. I told you. No. Sky interrupted. You said your wife wants you dead. But they're shooting at me. Raphael's hands tightened on the wheel. That's because. He cut himself off. Because what? A red light loomed ahead. Raphael didn't slow down. Raphael. They blasted through the intersection. Horns blared. Brakes squealed. Somehow, they made it through. The car behind them wasn't as lucky. It T-boned a delivery truck. Metal crunched. Glass shattered. The car flipped. Raphael kept driving. In the distance, sirens wailed. Police. Or ambulances. Or both. Sky turned back around, chest heaving. They're gone, she panted. For now. Raphael took a hard left into an underground parking garage. Down. 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 3 levels below street level, he finally stopped. Killed the engine. Silence. Sky's ears rang. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Are you hurt? Raphael asked. I don't know. He turned to face her, eyes scanning her for injuries. Sky, are you hurt? I said I don't know. Her voice cracked. Tears spilled down her face. There was a dead man in my apartment, she whispered. A dead man. On my floor. Raphael reached for her hand. She pulled away. Don't touch me. Sky. You said they were trying to kill you, she shouted. But they weren't, were they? Raphael went very still. Were they? Sky demanded. His silence was answer enough. Oh my God, she breathed. They weren't shooting at you at all. Sky. They were shooting at me. Raphael closed his eyes. Say it, Sky said, voice shaking. Say it out loud. He opened his eyes. And said the words that shattered everything. She's not trying to kill me. He swallowed hard. She's trying to make me watch you die. The car felt too small. Too cold. Too real. Why? Sky whispered. Because she knows, Raphael said quietly. She knows killing me would be too easy. Too fast. He looked at her with something like agony in his eyes. But making me watch the woman I love die? Making me live with that? His voice broke. That's the punishment. Sky couldn't breathe. So this was never about you surviving, she said slowly. This was about making you suffer. Raphael didn't deny it. And I'm not collateral damage. No. I'm not a bystander. No. Sky's voice came out flat. Dead. I'm the mission. Raphael reached for her again. This time, she let him. His hand closed around hers. Warm. Steady. A lie that felt like safety. I won't let her touch you, he said fiercely. I swear to God, Sky, I won't. You already did. The words hung between them. Because it was true. The moment he'd hidden that drive in her apartment, he'd painted a target on her back. The moment he'd looked at her the wrong way, he'd signed her death warrant. The moment he'd fallen in love with her, he'd destroyed her. And now they were both running from a woman who didn't just want revenge. She wanted a show. When someone's love puts you in danger, is it still love, or just beautiful destruction? Raphael didn't take her to a safe house. He didn't take her to a hotel. He took her to a church. Not just any church. An abandoned one on the edge of the city where broken stained glass windows stared down like empty eyes. Why here? Sky asked as they pulled up to the crumbling building. Because it's the last place anyone would look. Raphael killed the engine and got out. Sky followed, still barefoot, still in pajamas, still numb. Her feet were bleeding. She barely felt it. Inside, the church was hollow. Cold. Dark. Pews had been stripped away. The altar was gone. Only dust and decay remained. Raphael led her to a door behind where the pulpit used to stand. Down a narrow staircase. Into a basement that smelled like mold and old books. A single light bulb hung from the ceiling, swaying slightly. And beneath it stood a man. Older. Maybe 60. With kind eyes and a priest's collar. He looked up when they entered. Raphael, he said quietly. Father Dane. The old man's eyes shifted to Sky. And something in his expression changed. Softened. Broke. My God, he whispered. She looks just like her. Sky frowned. Just like who? Father Dane stepped closer, studying her face like it was a painting he hadn't seen in years. Your mother. The world stopped. You didn't know her, Sky said automatically. She died when I was a baby. No, Father Dane said gently. She didn't. Sky's legs almost gave out. Raphael caught her arm. What are you talking about? Sky whispered. Father Dane gestured to a wooden chair. Sit, child. Please. Sky didn't move. Sit, Raphael said softly. You need to hear this. She sat. Father Dane pulled up another chair across from her. Your adoption, he began. Do you remember anything about it? Sky shook her head. I was a baby. The record said my parents died in a car accident. I went into foster care, then got adopted when I was 3. That's what the records say, Father Dane agreed. But records can be rewritten. What are you saying? I'm saying your adoption wasn't random, Sky. It was engineered. Her hands clenched in her lap. By who? By your father. My father died. No, Father Dane interrupted. He ran. Silence filled the basement. Your biological father, Father Dane continued, was a man named Thomas Arlen. He worked as an accountant for the Moretti family. Sky's gaze snapped to Raphael. He wouldn't meet her eyes. 26 years ago, Father Dane said, Thomas discovered something he wasn't supposed to. Financial records. Illegal transactions. Evidence of crimes that went all the way to the top. The ledger, Sky breathed. Father Dane nodded. He copied everything onto a drive and planned to go to the authorities. But before he could, they found out. Who found out? Raphael's father, Father Dane said. The man who ran the family before Raphael took over. Sky looked at Raphael again. He still wouldn't look at her. Thomas knew they'd kill him, Father Dane continued. So he ran. But he couldn't take you with him. You were only a few months old. Too visible. Too much of a liability. So he left me, Sky said flatly. He hid you, Father Dane corrected. He falsified your mother's death certificate. Created adoption papers. Changed your last name. He leaned forward. And he hid the ledger where no one would ever think to look. Sky's stomach turned. With me. Not with you, Father Dane said. In you. What does that mean? It means, Raphael said quietly, finally looking at her, that you weren't just hiding the ledger. He paused. You were the disguise. Sky stood up so fast the chair fell backward. No. Sky. No. Her voice echoed off the concrete walls. You're saying my entire life was fake. That I was planted somewhere like a piece of evidence. You were protected, Father Dane said. Your father loved you. My father abandoned me. He saved you, Father Dane said firmly. If he'd kept you, they would have killed you both. This was the only way. Sky pressed her hands to her face. Where is he now? Silence. Father Dane, Sky said slowly. Where is my father? The old priest's eyes filled with sadness. He died 2 years ago. Heart attack. Sky laughed bitterly. Of course he did. He watched you, though, Father Dane said. From a distance. Made sure you were safe. Made sure you had a good life. A fake life. A safe one. Sky turned to Raphael. And you, she said. How long have you known? Raphael's jaw tightened. How long, she shouted. 6 months. The air left her lungs. 6 months, she repeated. The same time you hid the drive in my apartment. Sky. You knew who I was. You knew what my father did. And you still used me. I chose you because of who you are, Raphael said. Oh, that's so much better. Listen to me. No. Sky's voice cracked. You don't get to explain this away. Raphael stepped closer. I chose you because you're good, Sky. Because in a world full of liars and killers and people who'd sell their souls for power, you're kind. You're honest. You're clean. Tears streamed down her face. And that's exactly why she wants you gone, Raphael said quietly. Because people like you don't exist in her world. You're proof that there's another way to live. He swallowed hard. And she can't let that proof survive. Sky wiped her eyes. My whole life, she whispered. Everything I thought I knew about myself was real, Father Dane said. The love your adoptive parents gave you. The person you became. That was all real. But it was built on a lie. It was built on sacrifice, Father Dane corrected. Your father gave up everything so you could have a life. Don't let his sacrifice be meaningless. Sky looked between them. Two men who'd shaped her life without her knowing. Two men who'd kept secrets that could have saved her. Or destroyed her. What happens now? She asked. Raphael pulled the USB drive from his pocket. Now, he said, we finish what your father started. If your life was built on a lie meant to save you, would you be grateful, or furious? They never heard her coming. One moment, the basement was silent except for Sky's ragged breathing. The next, the door at the top of the stairs opened. Heels clicked on wood. Slow. Deliberate. Confident. Raphael's entire body went rigid. No, he whispered. Father Dane crossed himself. And then she appeared. Isabella Moretti. Raphael's ex-wife. She descended the stairs like she owned them. Like she owned everything. And maybe she did. She was beautiful in the way dangerous things are beautiful. Sharp cheekbones. Perfect posture. A black dress that probably cost more than Sky's entire apartment. Her dark hair was pulled back. Not a strand out of place. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like she was going to brunch. Not a confrontation that could end in blood. Two men flanked her. Armed. Silent. Isabella reached the bottom step and surveyed the room with mild interest. Her eyes landed on Father Dane first. Father, she said pleasantly. Still hiding criminals in church basements, I see. Still missing the point of confession, I see, he replied. She smiled. Then her gaze shifted to Raphael. Hello, husband. Ex-husband, Raphael said. Semantics. Her eyes finally settled on Sky. And she smiled wider. Ah. There she is. Sky felt like prey being circled. Isabella walked closer, studying her like a painting in a gallery. You're prettier than I expected, she said. I can see why he fell for you. I don't. Don't lie, Isabella interrupted smoothly. It's beneath you. She circled Sky slowly. Do you know what I do for a living, Sky? You run a criminal empire, Sky said. Isabella laughed. Genuine. Delighted. I like her, Raphael. She's direct. Raphael stepped between them. Leave her alone. Or what? Isabella asked, amused. You'll shoot me. In front of witnesses. In a church. She tilted her head. You're not that man anymore. You've gone soft. Try me. Isabella's smile didn't waver. I don't need to try you, darling. I already know how this ends. She gestured to her men. One of them produced a tablet and handed it to her. She tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward Raphael. Recognize this? Sky saw Raphael's face go pale. What is it? She asked. My mother, Raphael whispered. On the screen was an elderly woman. Gray hair. Kind face. Sitting in what looked like a hospital room. Surrounded by armed guards. She's very comfortable, Isabella said. Good care. Private room. But she does miss you. Raphael's hands clenched into fists. You said she was off limits. That was before you stole from me. I didn't steal. The ledger, Raphael. Isabella's voice went cold. Don't insult my intelligence. She swiped to another image. A young woman. Maybe 20. Pretty. Scared. Your sister sends her regards, Isabella said. Well, she would. If she could talk around the gag. Bella, please. Please. Isabella laughed. You're begging now? How the mighty have fallen. She swiped again. Another image. Another person. Your cousin. Your nephew. Your old driver. Shall I continue? Raphael said nothing. I have everyone you've ever cared about, Isabella said. Everyone except her. She looked at Sky. And now I have her too. Sky's blood ran cold. Isabella set the tablet down on a dusty crate. So here's how this works, she said pleasantly. You have two options. She held up one finger. Option 1, you give me the ledger. You come back. You resume your position. You never speak of this again. Second finger. Option 2, I kill everyone on that tablet. Starting with your mother. Then your sister. Then this lovely girl. She looked at Sky. I'll make you watch, she added. So you understand the cost of betrayal. Sky felt sick. There's a third option, Father Dane said quietly. Isabella turned to him. Oh. You could walk away, he said. Let them go. End this cycle. Isabella laughed. Actually laughed. Father, I appreciate your optimism. But I don't do mercy. She turned back to Raphael. So what's it going to be, husband? Your freedom. Or her life? Don't, Sky said immediately. Raphael didn't look at her. Raphael, don't you dare. Be quiet, he said softly. No. I'm not going to stand here and let you. Sky. He finally met her eyes. Please. Tears blurred her vision. You can't do this. I have to. No, you don't. If I don't, she dies, Raphael said. My mother dies. My sister. My nephew. And you. His voice broke. I can't live with that. So you'll live as her prisoner instead? Sky demanded. If it means you're safe, yes. That's not love. Sky shouted. That's suicide. Raphael smiled sadly. Maybe. But it's the only choice I have. He turned to Isabella. Let them all go. Everyone on that tablet. And her. He nodded toward Sky. And I'll come back. Isabella considered this. No ledger. No ledger. No resistance. No resistance. Full compliance. Raphael's jaw tightened. Yes. Isabella smiled. Now we're getting somewhere. No. Sky grabbed Raphael's arm. Don't do this. There has to be another way. There isn't. We'll run. We'll hide. She'll find us, Raphael said. She'll find everyone I love and she'll kill them all. He cupped her face in his hands. I need you to understand something, Sky. Loving you was the best and worst thing I ever did. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Best because you made me feel human again, he said. Worst because now I have to lose you to keep you alive. Raphael. I don't regret it, he whispered. Any of it. He kissed her forehead. Then stepped away. Toward Isabella. Toward surrender. Smart boy, Isabella said. Raphael stopped in front of her. If you hurt her. You're in no position to make threats, Isabella said. But I'll be merciful. She'll live. As long as she disappears. She looked at Sky. You get a new name. New city. New life. And you never speak of any of this. Understood? Sky couldn't breathe. Understood? Isabella repeated, harder this time. Yes, Sky whispered. Good. Isabella gestured to her men. They moved toward Raphael. Wait, Sky said. Everyone stopped. She looked at Raphael one last time. You said loving me was the best thing you ever did. It was. Then don't throw it away, she said. Don't let her win. Raphael's eyes filled with pain. I already lost, Sky. The moment I fell for you, I lost. No, she said. You lose when you stop fighting. Isabella sighed. How touching. But we're done here. Her men grabbed Raphael's arms. He didn't resist. He just looked at Sky as they pulled him toward the stairs. And she realized something devastating. Love doesn't protect. Love destroys. And sometimes the people we love hurt us the most, not because they're cruel. But because they're kind. Would you sacrifice everything for someone who might never know you loved them? The sirens came from everywhere at once. Not one or two. Dozens. The sound tore through the basement like a wave, growing louder with each second. Isabella froze mid-step. Her men reached for their weapons. Raphael didn't move. He just smiled. A real smile. The first Sky had seen since he knocked on her door. What did you do? Isabella whispered. Raphael turned to face her. What I should have done years ago. The doors above exploded open. Boots thundered down the stairs. FBI. Hands up. Nobody move. Agents in tactical gear flooded the basement, weapons drawn, voices shouting commands. Isabella's men dropped their guns immediately. Smart. Isabella herself stood perfectly still, hands visible, face calm. But her eyes. Her eyes were filled with murder. You, she hissed at Raphael. You did this. I did. When? Raphael glanced at Sky. The moment I realized I cared more about saving her than saving myself. An agent grabbed Isabella's arm. Isabella Moretti, you're under arrest for racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder. The list went on. And on. Isabella didn't resist. Didn't scream. Didn't even blink. She just stared at Raphael as they cuffed her hands behind her back. This isn't over, she said quietly. Yes, Raphael said. It is. They led her up the stairs. She didn't look back. More agents secured the basement. Father Dane raised his hands peacefully and was escorted to a corner for questioning. Sky stood frozen, heart pounding, mind racing. What just happened? An agent approached Raphael. Older. Gray hair. Tired eyes. Agent Morris, Raphael said. Mr. Moretti. They knew each other. Is it done? Raphael asked. Agent Morris nodded. 23 locations hit simultaneously. We've arrested 47 individuals so far. More expected within the hour. Raphael exhaled slowly. My family? Safe. Already in protective custody. The ledger. Agent Morris held up a clear evidence bag containing the USB drive. Everything you promised. And more. Raphael nodded. Then held out his hands. Agent Morris hesitated. You don't have to. Yes, Raphael said firmly. I do. Sky's breath caught. Wait, she said, stepping forward. What are you doing? Raphael turned to her. What I have to. Raphael, you helped them. You brought her down. You don't have to. Sky, he interrupted gently. I'm not innocent. But. I ran that organization for 5 years, he said. I made decisions. Signed orders. Looked the other way when I should have spoken up. He swallowed hard. I'm guilty of a lot of things. Not murder, Sky said desperately. Not what she did. No. But enough. Agent Morris pulled out handcuffs. Raphael Moretti, you're under arrest for. I know the charges, Raphael said quietly. The metal closed around his wrists with a soft click. Sky felt something break inside her chest. This isn't fair, she whispered. Raphael looked at her. Really looked at her. Fair, he said. Sky, nothing about this has been fair to you. That's not what I meant. You almost died tonight, Raphael said. Because of me. Because I hid evidence in your home. Because I didn't walk away when I should have. Tears spilled down her face. But if you had walked away, you'd be safe, he finished. And that's all that matters. Agent Morris gently pulled Raphael toward the stairs. Wait. Sky called out. They stopped. She crossed the distance between them, ignoring the agents watching, ignoring everything except the man in handcuffs. Why? She asked. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you warn me what you were planning? Raphael's expression softened. Because you would have tried to stop me. Of course I would have. Exactly. He smiled sadly. You're good, Sky. You see the best in people. You would have tried to save me. So I didn't come to your door at 5 in the morning to be saved. He paused. I came to save you. Sky's legs almost gave out. That's not fair, she whispered again. I know. You don't get to sacrifice yourself and make it sound noble. I'm not trying to be noble, Raphael said. I'm trying to make up for using you. For putting you in danger. For loving you when I had no right to. You had every right. No, he said firmly. I didn't. Men like me don't get happy endings, Sky. We get consequences. Agent Morris tugged on his arm. We need to go. Raphael nodded. Then looked at Sky one last time. I didn't come to ruin your life, he said softly. I came to give you a chance at a real one. By leaving me. By setting you free. The words hit like bullets. You were never supposed to be part of this world, Raphael continued. You were supposed to be safe. Hidden. Protected. He swallowed hard. And now you are. I don't want to be safe. Sky shouted. I want. She couldn't finish. Couldn't say it out loud. But Raphael heard it anyway. I know, he whispered. But sometimes what we want isn't what's best for us. Agent Morris pulled him toward the stairs. This time, Raphael didn't resist. Sky watched him go, tears streaming down her face, hands shaking. At the top of the stairs, Raphael stopped. Turned back. Sky. She looked up. Don't wait for me. Her heart shattered. What? Live your life, he said. The real one. The one you deserve. And then he was gone. Up the stairs. Out of the church. Into a patrol car with flashing lights. Sky stood in the basement, surrounded by federal agents and evidence bags and the wreckage of a life she never asked for. Father Dane appeared at her side. "Are you all right, child?" Sky laughed bitterly. "Am I all right?" She looked at the empty staircase. "I just watched the man I love get arrested for trying to protect me." She wiped her eyes. "No, Father. I'm not all right. He did what he thought was right. That doesn't make it hurt less." Father Dane was quiet for a moment. Then said gently, "Sometimes love isn't about staying together. Sometimes it's about letting go." Sky shook her head. "I don't want to let go. I know. I want him back. I know. But he's gone." "Yes," Father Dane said. "He is." And for the first time since this nightmare began, Sky understood the truth. She survived. Raphael made sure of it. He orchestrated everything, the ledger, the FBI, the timing, to save her. He chose her life over his freedom. Her safety over his. And now she had exactly what he wanted her to have. A second chance. A clean slate. A future. But it felt like a grave. He gave up everything so she could be free. But freedom without him, was that really freedom at all? They gave her a new name. Emily Carson. It sounded wrong in her mouth. Foreign. Like wearing someone else's skin. But Sky Arlen was gone. Officially dead, according to the paperwork. Killed in a home invasion that was still under investigation. The FBI had been thorough. New social security number. New driver's license. New bank account with enough money to start over. They relocated her to Portland. A city she'd never been to. A city where no one knew her face. A city that felt like exile. Her new apartment was nice. Clean. Safe. Nothing like the one she'd left behind. That apartment, the real one, had been cleaned. Repaired. The bullet holes patched. The blood scrubbed away. The door replaced. Like nothing had ever happened. Like a man hadn't died on her floor. Like her entire life hadn't exploded at 5:03 in the morning. Agent Morris had shown her photos during one of their final debriefings. "We made sure everything was restored," he'd said. "In case you ever want to go back." But she wouldn't. Couldn't. That apartment belonged to someone else now. Someone who didn't know what it was like to run from killers. Someone who didn't know what it felt like to watch the man you love disappear in handcuffs. Someone who could still sleep at night. The first month was the hardest. Every sound made her jump. Every knock on the door sent panic through her chest. Every dark car that passed felt like a threat. The FBI had assured her she was safe. Isabella's entire organization had collapsed. The key players were in custody. The rest had scattered. "No one's coming for you," Agent Morris had promised. But safe didn't feel safe anymore. Safe felt like waiting. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Waiting for someone to figure out where she was. Waiting for news she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. Because no one would tell her about Raphael. "That information is classified," they'd say. "For your own protection," they'd add. As if not knowing was somehow easier. As if wondering every single day whether he was alive or dead was protection. She started therapy in the second month. Court mandated. Part of the witness protection agreement. Dr. Lindsay was kind. Patient. Professional. "How are you adjusting?" she'd ask every session. And Sky would lie. "Fine. I'm doing fine. Are you sleeping?" "Sometimes." "Nightmares?" A few. A few meant every night. Meant waking up at 5:03 a.m. in a cold sweat, heart racing, seeing his face at her door. Meant reliving the moment he walked away. Meant wondering if he was still breathing. Have you thought about reaching out to anyone from your old life? Dr. Lindsay asked once. I can't. I know the rules say you can't contact them directly, but... It's not the rules, Sky interrupted. It's that I don't know who I am anymore. Dr. Lindsay had written something in her notebook. What do you mean? Sky stared at her hands. I thought I knew my story, she said quietly. Orphan. Foster kid. Bookkeeper. Normal person living a normal life. She looked up. But none of it was real. My adoption was fake. My father was a criminal. My entire existence was designed to hide evidence. Her voice cracked. So who am I? Sky Arlen, the lie. Or Emily Carson, the replacement? Dr. Lindsay had been quiet for a long moment. Then said. Maybe you're both. And maybe you're neither. That's not helpful. Maybe not, Dr. Lindsay agreed. But it's true. Identity isn't about names or paperwork. It's about choices. And you've made yours. What choice did I make? You chose to survive. By the third month, Sky, Emily, had built a routine. Morning coffee at the cafe on the corner. The barista knew her order but not her name. Work at a local nonprofit. Data entry. Quiet. Safe. Boring. Lunch alone, usually at the park near the river. Evenings spent reading or pretending to watch TV. It was a life. Just not hers. She'd pass people on the street and wonder, do they know what it's like to lose everything? She'd see couples holding hands and think, do they know how fast love can destroy you? She'd watch the news and flinch every time they mentioned organized crime. Waiting. Always waiting. For his name. For confirmation. For anything. At night, she'd lie in bed and replay that last conversation. Don't wait for me. But how do you not wait for someone who gave up everything for you? How do you move forward when part of you is still standing in that church basement? How do you live when the person who saved your life is locked away somewhere you can't reach? She tried to find information. Googled his name. Nothing recent. Just old articles about the arrest. The trial hadn't started yet. She'd asked Agent Morris once. Is he okay? Morris had looked uncomfortable. I can't discuss that. Please. Just tell me if he's alive. Ms. Carson. Emily, she'd corrected automatically. Emily, Morris said gently. The best thing you can do for him, and yourself, is move on. But moving on felt like betrayal. Like forgetting. Like pretending he didn't matter. And he mattered. God, he mattered. 4 months in, something shifted. Not a big shift. Just a small one. She stopped flinching at every sound. Stopped checking over her shoulder constantly. Started sleeping past 5:03 a.m. most nights. It wasn't healing. Not really. It was just exhaustion. The kind that comes from grieving someone who isn't dead. From loving someone you can't have. From surviving something that should have killed you. She thought about her father sometimes. Thomas Arlen. The man who'd hidden her to save her. Who'd watched from a distance. Who'd died before she could ever know him. She understood him now. Understood the weight of loving someone so much you'd destroy your own life to protect theirs. Raphael had done the same thing. History repeating itself. Love disguised as sacrifice. It was a Tuesday night when her phone buzzed. She was already in bed, half asleep, when the notification lit up her screen. Unknown number. She almost didn't open it. Spam, probably. Wrong number. But something made her look. One message. 3 words. Still burning toast. Skies, Emily's. Heart stopped. Her hands shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. It couldn't be. It wasn't possible. But there it was. Their joke. The one only he would know. Her barista comment about burning toast. His teasing response. The toaster in the break room. Nobody else knew that story. Nobody. She stared at the screen, tears blurring her vision. He was alive. Somewhere. Somehow. Raphael was alive. She typed with shaking fingers. Where are you? The 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then nothing. The message never came. But it didn't matter. Because for the first time in 4 months, Sky Arlen, Emily Carson, whoever she was, smiled. A real smile. Not a hollow one. Not a fake one. A smile that came from the deepest part of her chest where hope had been buried. He was alive. And he remembered. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't over. Some people wait forever for a sign that never comes. Don't let this be one of them. Sky stared at the phone until her vision blurred. Still burning toast. 3 words. That's all it took to shatter 4 months of carefully constructed numbness. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She read it again. And again. And again. Like if she looked away, the message might disappear. Like it might be a dream. A hallucination born from too many sleepless nights and too much hope buried too deep. But it was real. The timestamp was real. The unknown number was real. And those words. Those words belonged to him. Only him. She'd told him about the toast on a random Thursday morning. 6 months before everything fell apart. She'd come into work frustrated, muttering under her breath about her useless toaster. Raphael had been passing by her desk. Problem, he'd asked. I burned toast 3 times this morning, she'd said. 3 times. How is that even possible? He'd smiled. Actually smiled. Talent, he'd said. Excuse me. It takes real talent to burn toast 3 times. She'd thrown a pen at him. He'd caught it without looking. The next week, a brand new toaster appeared in the office break room. Top of the line. With a note. No more excuses. She'd used it every morning after that. And every morning, she'd thought of him. That memory felt like a lifetime ago. Like it belonged to a different person. But he remembered. Across whatever distance separated them, prison, protective custody, hiding. He remembered. Sky's knees gave out. She slid down the wall beside her bed, clutching the phone to her chest. And she cried. Not the silent tears she'd been crying for months. Not the hollow, empty grief that had become background noise. Real crying. The kind that came from somewhere deep and broken and finally allowed to feel something other than pain. He was alive. Raphael Moretti was alive. She typed with trembling fingers. Where are you? Send. The message showed as delivered. She waited. 1 minute. 2. 5. The 3 dots appeared. Her heart stopped. Then disappeared. She waited longer. 10 minutes. 20. No response. She tried again. Are you okay? Delivered. No response. Please. Just tell me you're safe. Delivered. Nothing. I need to know you're okay. Delivered. Silence. She pressed the phone against her forehead, frustration and relief warring inside her chest. "Come on," she whispered. "Please." But nothing came. Just that one message. 3 words that changed everything. And explained nothing. She didn't sleep that night. Couldn't sleep. She kept the phone on the pillow beside her, volume turned all the way up. Waiting. Every time the screen lit up with a notification, email, weather alert, app update, her heart jumped. But nothing from that number. Nothing from him. By morning, exhaustion had settled into her bones, but she didn't care. He was alive. That was enough. It had to be enough. Dr. Lindsay noticed the change immediately at their next session. "You look different," she said. "Different how?" "Lighter," Dr. Lindsay said. Like something shifted. Sky hesitated. She wasn't supposed to tell anyone. The number was unknown. Untraceable, probably. If she reported it, they'd investigate. They'd ask questions. They might make it stop. "I'm just sleeping better," Sky lied. Dr. Lindsay studied her. "That's good. What changed?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." It wasn't a lie. Everything had changed. And nothing had. She was still Emily Carson, living a borrowed life in a borrowed city. Still alone. Still waiting. But now the waiting had a reason. Now she knew he was out there. Somewhere. Breathing. Thinking of her. Remembering burnt toast and stolen moments and a life that felt like another universe. "Whatever it is," Dr. Lindsay said gently, "hold on to it." Sky nodded. She planned to. The days that followed were strange. She'd check her phone obsessively. Between tasks at work. During lunch. In the bathroom. Before bed. First thing in the morning. But the message never came. Just that one text, sitting in her inbox like a gift and a torment. Still burning toast. She must have read it 1,000 times. Memorized the timestamp. Analyzed every possible meaning. Was he in prison? Witness protection. Hiding. Was he safe? Was he alone? Did he think about her as much as she thought about him? The questions were endless. The answers non-existent. 2 weeks after the text, she almost gave up. Almost convinced herself it was a fluke. A one-time thing. Maybe someone else had sent it. Maybe it wasn't even him. Maybe she was reading too much into 3 words that could mean anything. But then, late one night, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. She opened it with shaking hands. No words this time. Just a photo. Grainy. Dark. Taken through what looked like a window. A toaster. Sitting on a counter. Her breath caught. She zoomed in. There. In the background. Barely visible. A hand. His hand. She'd know those hands anywhere. The way his fingers curved. The scar on his thumb from a childhood accident he'd mentioned once. It was him. Definitely him. She pressed her hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. He couldn't text freely. Couldn't call. Couldn't tell her where he was. But he could send proof. Proof that he was alive. Proof that he remembered. Proof that despite everything, despite the distance and the danger and the impossibility of it all, he was still there. Still thinking of her. Still finding ways to let her know. She saved the photo. Set it as her lock screen. A grainy image of a toaster that meant more than any love letter ever could. And that night, for the first time in 4 months, she slept past 5:03 a.m. Not because she'd moved on. Not because the pain was gone, but because hope had returned. Small, fragile, flickering like a candle in the dark. But there. And sometimes hope is all you need to keep breathing. The next morning, she made toast. Burned it on purpose. And smiled. A real smile. The kind that came from somewhere deep and true and unbroken. Because somewhere out there, Rafael Moretti was alive. And he was still burning toast too. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. For now. 3 words. 1 photo. Proof that some connections survive anything. What message would you send to someone you thought you'd lost forever? 6 months after the text, Sky stopped being Emily Carson. Not officially. The paperwork still said Emily. The bills. The job. The lease. But inside, where it mattered, she was someone else entirely. Someone new. Someone she was still learning to be. She didn't go back to her old life. Couldn't, even if she'd wanted to. That apartment with the repaired door and scrubbed floors belonged to a ghost. The bookkeeper who kept her head down and played it safe. Gone. Burned away at 5:03 in the morning when she'd made the choice that changed everything. She'd opened the door. And in doing so, she'd opened something inside herself she didn't know existed. Courage, maybe. Or just the willingness to stop hiding. She changed jobs first. Quit the nonprofit after 4 months. The data entry. The quiet corners. The invisible existence. It was safe. But she didn't want safe anymore. Safe was a lie. A comfortable prison. She'd been safe her entire life, or so she'd thought, and it had almost gotten her killed. So she took a risk. Applied for a position at a legal aid clinic. Helping people who couldn't afford lawyers. Victims of domestic violence. Immigrants. People trapped in systems designed to break them. It was hard work. Emotionally exhausting. But real. More real than anything she'd done before. And for the first time in her life, she felt like she mattered. Not because of what she was hiding. But because of what she was giving. She made friends. Actual friends. Not co-workers she smiled at politely. Not people she kept at arm's length. Real friends who knew her, or at least, knew the version of her she was becoming. Maya, who worked at the clinic and had survived her own nightmare. Jordan, who ran the coffee shop and always asked how she was really doing. Even Diar. Lindsay, who transitioned from therapist to something closer to mentor. They didn't know about Raphael. Didn't know about Isabella or the ledger or the church basement. But they knew she'd survived something. And they loved her anyway. She still thought about him. Every day. Sometimes every hour. The texts had stopped after the toaster photo. No explanation. No goodbye. Just silence. But she understood. Silence was safety. For both of them. Still, she kept the photo on her lock screen. A reminder. Not of what she'd lost. But of what she'd gained. Because the truth was, Raphael hadn't destroyed her life. He'd shattered the small, safe, fake version of it. And forced her to build a real one. One night, almost a year after everything happened, she sat in her apartment with a cup of tea. The TV was off. Her phone was face down on the table. Just her and the quiet. And she realized something. She was okay. Not healed. Not over it. But okay. The kind of okay that comes from accepting that some questions don't have answers. Some doors don't close. Some people stay in your heart even when they're gone from your life. And that's not weakness. It's not something to fix or overcome. It's just love. The kind that doesn't demand anything. Doesn't need promises or guarantees. Just exists. Quiet. Steady. Unchanging. She thought about the lesson she'd learned. Not the one she expected. Not about danger or betrayal or survival. But about doors. The one at 5:03 in the morning. The one she'd almost didn't open. The one that had terrified her. That door hadn't destroyed her life. It had revealed it. Showed her who she really was beneath the fear and the routine and the careful, small existence. It showed her she was brave. Strong. Capable of loving someone even when it hurt. Capable of surviving even when it seemed impossible. And that was worth everything. Worth the fear. Worth the pain. Worth the loss. Because she'd finally met herself. The real version. Not the one hiding behind safety and routines. Not the one afraid to feel too much. The version who could stand in the fire and not burn. Who could lose everything and still choose to live. She learned that peace isn't silence. It's not the absence of danger or pain. It's the presence of truth. And love isn't safety. It's not protection or guarantees. It's vulnerability. Risk. The willingness to open a door even when you don't know what's on the other side. Somewhere out there, Rafael Moretti was still alive. She didn't know where. Didn't know if he was in prison or witness protection or hiding in some corner of the world she'd never see. But he was breathing. And that was because she'd opened the door. Because she'd chosen to trust him even when every instinct screamed not to. Because she'd loved him enough to let him sacrifice himself. And he'd loved her enough to make sure she survived. That was the gift. Not the relationship. Not the happy ending. But the proof that love, real love, doesn't always look like fairy tales. Sometimes it looks like sacrifice. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like a man walking away in handcuffs so the woman he loves can live. And that's not tragic. It's beautiful. In its own broken, impossible way. Sky stood and walked to the window. The city stretched out before her. Lights flickering in the darkness. Lives being lived. Stories unfolding. Doors opening and closing. She pressed her hand against the glass. And whispered to the night. Thank you. For the knock. For the choice. For showing her who she could be. She didn't know if he could hear her. Didn't know if he ever would. But it didn't matter. Some things don't need to be heard to be true. And somewhere, maybe in a prison cell, maybe in a safe house, maybe in a city she'd never been to, Rafael Moretti burned toast. And thought of her. And knew she was alive. And that was enough. For both of them. Because some doors never close. They don't need to. They just wait. Quietly. Patiently. Until you're brave enough to walk through them again. And maybe, someday. When the world was safer and the distance shorter and the timing finally right. That door would open one more time. Not at 5:03 in the morning. Not in fear or desperation. But in daylight. In choice. In the kind of love that doesn't destroy. But builds. And maybe that day would never come. Maybe the door would stay closed forever. But that was okay too. Because Sky Arlen, Emily Carson, whoever she was now, had learned the most important lesson of all. You don't need someone to complete you. You just need to be brave enough to open the door. And see who you become on the other side. If this story reminded you of something, or someone, don't keep it to yourself. Some stories are meant to be shared. Some doors are meant to be opened. And some loves, no matter how impossible, are worth remembering.